Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more History Matters, and this time we are we are asking the question of why was Rome split in two? Now, I think most of us watching this video here, likely already know this answer, at least the audience that I have built up over these last few years, likely know. But, I mean, well, for a while it was kind of split more into. There was at one time there was like four of them, I think. Was there ever more than four? Was there a time where it was like six or something? I can't remember. Can't remember the most amount of times Rome was split. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive right in.
The most famous events in the history of the Roman Empire is its division into two at the end of the 4th century, which marked the end of the ancient empire being governed as a single political entity, as it had been for much
Okay, so we were talking about the time where it was like, it split in two, and it pretty much stayed split in two.
of its history. But given that so many emperors before this had headed the government all on their own, it raises the question, why was the empire permanently divided in 395 and why was there no attempt to reunite it? So before continuing,
Well, there was an attempt. Justinian made an attempt. He was able to get Africa and southern Italy back, but then he had a war in the east against the Sassanids, and then also a little plague problem. Um, so yeah, that happened.
it's important to note that whilst the two halves of the empire were around separately, with separate courts, emperors, and economies, nobody at the time considered them to be two distinct empires. This might sound strange, but this had happened in Rome before, notably under Diocletian or the sons of Constantine I. However, unlike those times, the empire would remain divided until the fall of Rome in the west and later Justinian's reconquests. Anyway,
Aha! Wait, Justinian made it that far north? What the
would
fuck?
remain divided until the fall of Rome in the west and later Justinian's reconquest.
When did he get Spain?
Anyway,
I don't
in the
remember
4th
those.
century, Rome wasn't having the best time.
Nope.
Invasions across the frontiers, religious strife within the
Laws on religion. 1. Arianism is the best. 2. Pagan sacrifice is dumb. 3. I will continue my predecessor's policies of being mean to the Jews. A European tradition for the rest of time. Best wishes, Constantius II.
empire, civil war, and conflict with Persia stretched the Roman state. The century sometimes saw single emperors who ruled the entirety of Rome's territory, with others having a deputy, a Caesar,
Augustus equals senior. Caesar equals junior. Okay.
whereas some co-ruled with another emperor in the east or the west, and sometimes those had deputies too. This system of whatever the strongest guy was able to force continued until the end of the century, when Theodosius I, aka Theodosius the Great, defeated his rivals and ruled all of Rome as its sole emperor. He declared his sons, Honorius and Arcadius, as his co-rulers in order to secure the succession in the west and the east. He died in 395, and thereafter no single person ruled over all of Rome until the fall of the West. So why? Well, for the most part, there was no reason to. The western half of the empire was clearly the weaker of the two, and as such, the emperor in Constantinople was consistently seen as senior to the one in Ravenna. Rome was no longer the capital of the West at this point, by the way. Speaking of Rome, in 410 it was sacked by the Visigoths, which was just one more bad thing happening to the West, which was falling apart at this point. Now, the Eastern Emperor did interfere in the running of the Western half at various points,
Less of this and more of the fucking decapitated head. Okay.
appointing emperors and sending troops to repel invasions and retake some lost territory. But no Eastern Emperor made any claim to the running of the West, and there were two main reasons for this. The first was that none of them wanted to take over that mess. The western half of the empire had a weaker economy, more enemies both within and without, as well as much greater levels of corruption. The Eastern emperors didn't want to see it fail, but running what looked like a lost cause would only weaken their own position. Emperors that kept losing battles often found themselves challenged, and so better to just supply men and hope for the best. The second reason was that the Eastern Empire had its own problems too. The Ostrogoths, the Huns, and the Persians all continued to threaten Constantinople, and stabilising its own borders was the most important task. Running this half of the empire was difficult enough, and adding another half which had even greater issues was a no-go. This may seem callous, but ultimately this policy was successful, and after the fall of the West, the East remained and would even retake a great
Hold on, let's go back. It dies. It dies.
Ultimately, this policy was successful, and after the fall of the West, the East remained and would even retake a great deal of territory under the reign of Justinian I. Although under his successors, this wouldn't last. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
I mean, it didn't even really last under Justinian. And that was why Rome was split into the permanent time, not the first few times. This was a good video. Ultimately a question that I think we all already were pretty well aware of, at least those of us that tend to watch historical content here on a YouTube. So obviously maybe we are not the target audience for this video in particular, but they still did a great job of the amount of context that they managed to squeeze into 2 minutes and 40 seconds will always impress me. It's so cool seeing the difference in, like, especially how I react to History Matters here, where we kind of bounce around in their catalog from older videos to more recent ones to those in between. So it's really cool seeing just their progress and how they have gotten just better at pacing, and really just the writing has gotten so much better as to what to include, what to not include. Just everything. They just so cool seeing their improvement. When they were like, they started off really high, really great, but like still improving. Even to this day, it's so cool. And so I hope you guys enjoyed as well as I did. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.